Hello and welcome to Chargers Talk 4630. I'm Stacey and I'm joined by my co-host and friend Cal D. If this is your first time here, we're happy you joined us and we're asking if you would be so kind to follow us by subscribing to our podcast. This way you'll be notified whenever we go live or release the latest content. You can hear us wherever you get your podcasts. And last, please go to your browser and check out more Chargers content from some great writers along with myself and my co-host Cal D, who operates and created stormcloud.blog. Good morning, Cal. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Stacey. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. We got a lot to talk about this morning.
All right, well, let's get to it.
So listen, the trading deadline is come and gone, and I get messages in my DMs. And, of course, if you go and look in the chat room of the podcast, people are asking my thoughts on how do I feel about the Chargers standing put or making any trades to improve the team. But to be honest, I was a little disappointed. As a Charger fan for almost 5 decades now, we've had some great quarterbacks and some great offenses throughout our history. And there were many times I thought this is the year that we're going to get it done. This is the year we go to the next level. Midway through the season, teams look to improve their chances to get in the playoffs, and playoff teams look to make a possible Super Bowl run by pulling off a trade by the deadline. The Chargers do not have a lot of experience at the wide receiver position. Even though they played much better the last 3 weeks, they still got guys nursing injuries, and most fans believe that pulling off a trade to bring in an experienced veteran receiver or tight end could have given Justin Herbert another target and take this offense to the next level. But on Monday night, recently acquired DeAndre Hopkins of the Chiefs had 8 catches, 86 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And in my opinion, if he's not wearing a jersey for the Chiefs, they don't win that game. But Cal, you disagree. Can I ask you why?
I do. Yeah, let me rephrase it this way, Stacey. If we had traded for Elijah Molden this week and he came in and had an impact the rest of the season, the way he has the first half of the season, would you consider that a darn good trade deadline trade?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. That's our trade deadline in a sense. This year, Joe Ortiz has already done 4 trades. He's already made 4 trades. We traded Keenan Allen for a 4th. We traded up to get Ladd McConkey, and all we had to do was trade our one of our 4ths back to a 5th, and we still really hit on that pick with Tarheeb Still and Cam Hart both being selected in the 5th round. And then we traded for Elijah Molden for a bag of chips. He only cost a 7th round pick, and we got a much better backup quarterback in Taylor Heineke for a conditional 6th. So I look at it, and normally with the trade deadline, you want to bolster if you are a player or 2 away from having a completely different trajectory with your team. Or if the cost is cheap enough to where you are just trying to backfill a little bit of depth at a skill position. But we've seen the impact that Quentin Johnston made coming back when he did. Our wide receiver room seems to be adequate for what our goals are this year. And that is rebuilding this team, resetting the culture, identifying who our core pieces are. And I don't think there's anything wrong with holding on to those draft picks and allowing Ortiz to cook next offseason, because we've seen what we can do in all 3 days of the draft. If it was a center or a guard, or a tight end, I would have been happy to see, but we didn't see any tight ends traded. So we can't really speak on what opportunities we may or may not have missed on. And with centers and guards, you need to trade for them in the offseason anyway, because they need that time to build cohesion in training camp.
That was nice what you did. I like how you pivoted when the question was asked, because you went back and looked at the offseason moves that was made. Forget about doing a trade at the deadline. Look at the moves they did earlier. And that's why we didn't need to do anything now, because of the depth we have. And I agree. Look, I don't pretend to know more than the general manager. I don't. Joe Ortiz been doing this for over 20 years with the Baltimore Ravens. He know more than we do. But as a fan, we sit back and you say, man, we're looking good if we can have add one more weapon. I mean, the Chiefs did it. The Buffalo Bills did it. The Jets did it. Now, whether it's going to work out or not, I don't know. It seems to be working out for the Kansas City Chiefs, but the receivers have been playing a whole lot better as of recent, and it seems, why not? And if you can't, I think we're still in good shape.
And we heard that we were linked to multiple players, right? It means that Joe was sending out interest offers, but they weren't big enough to get the deal done, which I'm totally okay with. I didn't like what Marshawn Lattimore was traded for. I would have been furious if we traded a 3rd and a 4th for a quarterback that's going to be 29 next year.
I agree. Especially with the cornerbacks playing at such a high level right now.
Exactly. That's a core competency for us. That is a huge point of
Yeah,
strength that we have a cornerback room that is completely cost controlled. I'm ready to start Cam Hart and Tarheeb Still next year. What about you?
I do.
Right? Like, let's roll it.
I do. Yes, I like it. Titans come to SoFi Sunday, right? Facing the Chargers. And one of the bright spots the Titans have is they're number one in total defense and passing defense. But check this out. This was weird when I pulled this stat up, Kyle. They're allowing opponents 26 points per game, which is ranked 26th in the NFL. And the defense is also ranked 26th in the red zone. And they also ranked 11th against the run. Sounds like it should be a big game for the Chargers on Sunday. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, the interesting thing is it's a team that needs to rebuild a little bit. They're going through the opposite thing we went through last year, where we went from being a finesse team to a now it's playing some bully ball, really prioritizing the trenches and wanting to run the ball down people's throats, and playing with a little bit of aggression. They went from being the Derrick Henry led, punch him in the mouth, Mike Vrabel on the sidelines looking like he's ready to knock you out team to now Brian Callahan bringing over his, more vertically moving offense, passing a lot more downhill. And they're, I would say they're a little bit slower behind the 8 ball in implementing all of that. That where they do line up well against us is their best pieces on defense are on the defensive line, specifically the interior. You got Jeffrey Simmons over there. That's still a problem. So how they handle that, there's going to be a lot of stunts. There's going to be a lot of movement, a little bit of trickery on the line, and it'll be another test for Bradley Bozeman, Trey Pipkins, and Zion Johnson. So we'll see. What are your thoughts, Stacey?
Well, I agree with you 100%. The Chargers line is still struggling a little bit up the middle, so I do worry a little bit about Jeffrey Simmons. We do know he is a beast in the middle of that line. Last week, he had 7 pressures and a sack against the Patriots. So they got to do a really good job of trying to contain him and block him. Do you have any other concerns other than Jeffrey Simmons on that defensive line? I looked at a lot of the highlights, and Jeffrey Simmons is the one that pops out the most.
My concerns would be Jeffrey Simmons and then over correcting, trying to shut him down, right? And then freeing up some of those other guys. But anytime we haven't seen consistency from Zion or Pipkins in passing off those stunts. So it doesn't even need to be a game breaker. If someone's looking at Jeffrey a little too long, then I would worry about somebody sneaking in past those guys. Other than that, Stacey, this is a matchup for us. This is really good. They don't have Derrick Henry anymore, and we're not a Brandon Staley defense that can just get run and gutted all game.
Right.
We should. We don't even know who their quarterback is this week. Last I checked, it's either Mason Rudolph or Will Levis, and Levis has a cannon of an arm. But as much as we've gotten better at stopping the run, we've also gotten better at stopping the pass. So this is another one of those games that you and I have talked about all season, Stacey. Right. We need to keep being what we've been under Jim. We need to get rid of chargering and not play down to our opponents. And go out there, beat them. Stack those wins, baby. That's right. That's right.
Well, listen, the Titans' passing attack is one of the worst in the league, so that shouldn't be a problem for the Chargers. But they are 12th in rushing yards, so they have had some success running the football. But look, they're 2-6, and you are what your records say you are, so that should be another dub in the win column. And Kyle, that will put the Chargers on a 3-game winning streak. How good does that feel after the last couple of years, man?
Incredible, Stacey. Don't you want to see every year, if your team is a competitor, you want to see them put together one stretch of 4 games, just so you know if we get in the playoffs, we can do it. You know what I mean? Because it's only going to get more difficult in the playoffs. The teams are only going to get better. So have a good run during the season. Show everyone you can do it. See what that feels like,
Yeah. Kyle, going back to what you said earlier when we first opened the segment talking about should they have made a trade at the deadline. I was thinking down the road. It's funny that you just bring this up now because we're talking about getting to the playoffs. I really believe that we are a wild card team this year. I really do. And we know that it's always said during the regular season, None of that matters. Everybody play at one level in the regular season, but when the playoff comes, you have to be able to elevate your play to the next level. It's not the same intensity as the regular season. So I'm looking at these wide receivers, and I probably the most experienced is what Joshua Palmer. So I'm saying when you get there, we talk about Josh Allen, even though Stephon not there anymore. We talk about Pat Mahomes leaning on the tight end Kelsey. Now they could lean on DeAndre Hopkins because these guys not only are good veterans, they have playoff experience. You know what I mean? They've been able to play and succeed on the highest level. And when I look around and see, when we get there, I'm selfish, man. When we get there, I want us to go far. And the only thing that I think that maybe will hold us back, these guys are not used to playing on the big stage in the playoffs with the world watching, with the bright lights. And that's the only thing that worries me just a little bit.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that, Stacey. I just, the thing that I think where we might differ there is the thing that I think this team is missing. Didn't get traded on the trade block. There wasn't a tight end that moved, so we don't know what the compensation would have been to move somebody. Like I would have loved to have grabbed a Hunter Henry or a David Njoku, somebody that has years on their contract. That's not just wouldn't just be a couple month rental, but somebody that we would get for 2025, 2026. But the real, like, even if we were to get a wide receiver, I don't think that prevents, a double mug, a gap blitz from getting to Justin Herbert because we don't have that interior offensive line play that is our biggest vulnerability. So that's my only concern there. I just don't know if it would have moved the needle enough this season. I want to see, man, in fantasy, Stacey, I got myself J.K. Dobbins in a keeper league because guess what, man? Next year when we get a center, and they're going to bring him back the way he's playing. When we get a center and another guard upgrade, that guy is going to be just running the green all day, and it's going to be a beautiful thing to watch.
Yes. Speaking of receivers, this is the week we finally get to see DJ Chark. And I know we've been saying this for the last couple of weeks, and strange things just seem to happen right before game time. He can't play. I mean, what can we expect if DJ Chark plays Sunday?
Man, I'm laughing because you were killing me on Sunday with your comments on, I don't know what happened to DJ, man. I don't know if he stepped on glass. I don't know. I was dying, man.
I mean, because up to like 12 o'clock, he was active.
Yeah.
And then at game time, they said he suffered a mysterious injury. I'm like, what happened? Did he step on a piece of glass, a nail? Like, what happened?
Stepped off the bus, twisted an ankle, sneezed, and hurt his oblique.
It's week 10. I want to see DJ Chark. I want to see what he can add to this team. Maybe that's the reason why they didn't go make a move. Maybe DJ Chark is exactly what they've been waiting on to come in and give that offense a boost. But I love how Quentin Johnson is playing. McConkey, I'm not surprised that McConkey has stepped up and has elevated his game like he's a number one. Not surprised by that at all. I think the coaching staff has done a great job with Quentin Johnston. He looks so much better than last year. Route running, getting off the line. When you get on the line, he used to get jammed all the time. Now he got some moves where he can get some separation and run down the sideline. His hands is good this year. I really like how all of this is starting to play out. Now I just want to see DJ Chark come in and add whatever he's going to bring to the table.
Yeah, and I don't know if he'll necessarily raise the ceiling of the wide receiver room a whole bunch, but what he'll do is add a little bit more of that lateral depth that we've talked about, where a couple of these guys go missing without Chark, without Johnston.
Right.
We were a little barren, right? We saw that there weren't as many targets and that it was a little harder to get the passing game moving. I think we'll have more of that deep threat that we've talked about. He's going to be able to get by some defenders. We're going to stretch the field. And that's what Greg Roman wants. He wants to play a little bit of smash mouth football. And that's when you're seeing every week, we're seeing it might be Josh Palmer this week. It might be Quentin Johnson next week, but we're seeing defensive breakdowns and coverage where our receivers are getting behind them. And that's because they're focusing and they're worried about our run game. So
Right.
if you can make that cornerback just think in the back of his head for a split second that he's got to key in on a run read, and you got somebody like Jark that can punish him like that, there's
Yes,
opportunity there. So I think it's
absolutely.
exciting, man.
Well, J.K. Dobbins, man, can't say enough about him. Like you was talking about earlier last week, he had 14 attempts for 85 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, an average of 6.1 yards per carry. I mean, this guy been money for us. And Cal, he's only 25.
I
We got to
know.
bring him back. When Herbert was injured early in the season and the receivers was trying to figure out what role they're going to play, the passing offense was a struggle for a while, but they leaned on JK the first couple of weeks, man. If it wasn't for JK Dobbins, them first couple of weeks, man, we might have been in a little bit of trouble. So I definitely want him to come back.
Yeah, and you watch Cam Akers, who is kind of the closest, not that he was incomparable in style or play, but he's another running back that had been a starting running back before and tore his Achilles, came back. First, he did great, and then he kind of
Right.
tapered. But I'm keeping my eye on him, Stacey, just to see how
Yeah.
that leg holds up, because
Yeah.
I want that reassurance that this isn't going to be a 1 year blip for JK, that he will have sustained success.
Yeah.
And even though Akers isn't what he was never on the level of JK to begin
No,
with. So
no.
there's a lot of hope right now that JK can sustain this, and that foot and that ankle is better. So that's really exciting for me.
And I think he can. I mean, he told us all during the offseason. He told us on every interview, I know what you guys worried about. I'm telling you, God has been good to me. My rehab has been great. I feel healthy. I feel good. And you guys going to see when I step out there. Well, we're week 10 into the season, and he hasn't let us down at all. He looked just as good as advertised. So I definitely would like to bring him back. Anybody else you want to talk about or before we close out?
The only topic I'd want to hit is I thought your message the other day was amazing, Stacey, and just want to
Or
bring that full circle again, and just want to reiterate that there was a whole lot of truth in what you said. And I know that Tuesday didn't go the way that some people, about half the country, wanted it to go.
right,
But
right.
I hope that the words don't change, or how people hear them don't change based
Yes.
on the results maybe not going their way. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't.
Right.
Messages of love are definitely what we need right now, man.
Yes,
Always.
absolutely. Yes,
Like
always.
love needs to win just as much today as it did on Monday, as it did last year. And I appreciate everything you said about me and my family. And you know that I feel the same way about you. And
100.
so I just, hopefully Chargers Nation can have a great week, put
Yes,
some of that
yes,
stuff behind now that we're done with our politics,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
have an amazing Sunday, man.
No matter what the results are, we still got to keep moving. Time don't stop or wait for no one, and we got to all live together and do things together in this country. So I was just trying to put out a positive message that it don't matter who you are, what you look like. We have to learn how to be kind to each other, respectful to each other, and love each other, and that's what'll get us through. But it's all on us, though.
My goal is for you and I to be having either a coffee or one of those celebration drinks and doing one of these
Yes.
pods live,
Yeah.
man. That's what we need to be
Yes. I'm
doing.
looking forward to that too. I am. And listen, let's speak it into existence, man. It's going to happen one day.
I know. We're gonna make it
Yeah.
happen, man.
Well, it's time to say thank you to everybody for joining us. Please don't forget to log on to stormcloud.blog if you're looking for more Chargers content. We'll be back Monday morning to talk about the results between the Chargers and the Titans. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that now before you leave this podcast. And as always, be good, be safe, be well, be kind to each other. Enjoy the rest of your week, and bolt up.